إن الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وقل جاء الحق وذهب الباطل إن الباطل كان زهوقا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Respected Chairman, respected elders and my dear brothers and sisters, I welcome all of you once again with the Islamic greeting, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace, mercy and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be on all of you. We were talking about the subject, temptations in the world, and the Muslims' views about festivals and celebrations. We see through, my dear brothers and sisters, some of the impacts and the causes and the origin of some of the festivals and religion. In a short time, we cannot go all the others unless we find another occasions to invite you and to talk about the particular one by one festivals. What is the religious points of view? Being a Muslim, being a rational human being, and being a student of comparative religion, I try to go through one of the big religion or religious practices in the world, namely Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam. So now, what is the Christians' points of view and the Christianity? What should they be if they follow the Bible and the preaching of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him? Because of the Isa, Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, he says in the Gospel of Saint Matthew, the first book of the New Testament, chapter 5, verse 17 to 20, that every little things mentioned in the Bible as a commandment, as a follower of Christ, they should follow. So, being a Christian, he tries to open the eyes of his followers who follow Christ, peace be upon him. He says in the first Gospel, Matthew chapter 13, verse 13, that seeing they see not, hear they hear not, neither do they understand. And when you compare what the churches are doing today, we can see reasonably, they are seeing the figures, they are seeing the origin, but they compromise, they don't understand. So Isa again and again, more than dozens of times, is telling you hypocrites, you vipers, you generation of vipers, adulterers and drunkards generation. So, being a believer, we want the Christian to be more Christians by following the commandments of Isa. That's very simple. We argue as a followers of monotheistic religion, the true teaching of Isa, if we can go back, or the teachings we have still recorded, if we can go back to the origin, we find there is a peace and harmony. And the same things mentioned in the Gospel of Saint Matthew, the first Gospel, chapter 15, verse 9, Isa says that in vain they do follow the commandments of their priest. The commandments that they make by themselves, their own vain desires, they follow that. Then following the commandments of the true Almighty God. Because there are 10 commandments in the Old Testament. There are commandments in the New Testament. And no idol or no paganism is welcome into Christianity. No idol or no paganism, no forms of worship other than true God is in Judaism. So if they follow monotheistic religion, we want them to follow and to be a better Christian than the pagans, or following or compromising the pagan nature. As a Hindu, I was talking with some of the Hindu, one of my supervisors is a Hindu, so I was trying to doing research from his own books. And one of the widely reading books is Bhagavad Gita. It says in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 7th chapter, verse 20, that those people whose intelligence has been stolen by the material desire, they worship the demigods. And in the Yajurved, one of their high authority in the scriptures, Rig Ved, Yajurved, Shamsved, and Atharvaved, in the Yajurved, it says in the chapter 40, verse 8 and 9, God Almighty is giving them, those who follow Hinduism, that Andhatma Prabhusanti ya asambhuti nupaste. It's a Sanskrit quotations from the original script. Literal translations comes like this: that those people who worship the nature, they are entering into darkness. The sun, the moon, the star, the air, the trees, the snakes, the goats, the monkey, the elephant. So these things they call Sambhuti. If you worship this nature, the Sambhuti, you are entering into darkness. And Asambhuti means the created things, not natural, but the created things. Tables, chairs, idols. So they are entering into deeper darkness, according to Yajurveda chapter 40, verse 9. Into deeper darkness, those who worship the Asambhuti, the created things. What the Muslims' point of view? As a Muslims living in a non-Muslims majority country, we have neighbors, and now they are greeting us, so they are inviting us to participate in their festivals. What is our standing? What we stand for? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives a message in the Quran. In Surah Al-Ma'idah chapter 5 verse 2, that help each other with al-bir and al-taqwa. Translations of the meaning goes like, help each other in piety and in righteous deeds. And in the verse continues that do not help each other in falsehood and transgressions and in sins. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the heaven and the earth, He make standing positions for the believers. In Surah Al-Furqan, the 25th chapter of the Quran, verse 72, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, La yashhaduna zura. Very strong phrase. Do not witness, either listening, hearing, or participating the falsehood. Why we say falsehood? We found this is a false nature, the pagan nature. And we are not allowed even to witness them. If they greet us, we can define them, but we can't greet them back the same. What does mean by Merry Christmas? In their imagination, they said it was the birthday of Christ. We find this is no validity at all. Now, if they come through, the Isa alayhi salam is the son of God, which is another extreme. The Quran says, in no less than many places, in the same chapter, Surah Maryam, the name of the honor of the mother of Isa alayhi salam, chapter 19, verse 88 to 92. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing those people who are attributing Allah of begotten a son. He's saying, Aqalu, that they say, the people, وَاتَّخَذَ الرَّحْمَنُ وَلَدًا, that it is most merciful Allah who has begotten a son. So Allah reacts very strongly, that لَقَدْ جِئْتُمْ شَيْئًا عِدًّا, this is the most horrible things anyone can attribute to Allah. So how can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have begotten a son? And this is the most horrible things to most merciful Allah. And Allah is continuing, لَقَدْ تَقَدَ السَّمَوَاتِ يَتَفَطَّرْنَ مِنْهُ, that if this sky have the feeling, they understand this message, and they are ready to turn over their heads, to kill them. وَتَنْشَقَّ الْعَرْضُ, this earth, the land is ready to grasp them, these people who say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is begotten a son. وَتَخِرُ الْجِبَالُ حَدًّا, the mountain is ready to fall over them, who says that Creator have begotten a son. So our standing positions is very simple. We say, look, this is a pagan culture. And none of the monotheistic religion can compromise with paganism. If you are a Christian, if you are a Jew, if you are a Hindu, if you follow the scriptures, there is no validity at all. But now, we see what is happening in the society. As a Muslims, we have a higher responsibility to think, not only to think, but also to create a system in order to rescue ourselves and our kids, especially those who are the immediate victims. Now, how we can? To put a vacuum, this is forbidden, is very easy. But to create a circumstances where we educate ourselves and we also educate the society at large. Because dawah, conveying the true message of Islam, is compulsory for everyone. Now what we can do as Muslims? So alhamdulillah, in the West, we have a huge liberty, like this kind of Islamic institution we have, where we say to our community, the Muslims majority community, the leaders of the organizations, the parents, the youths and the adults and the kids, it should be a collective efforts to introduce a system. How? For example, we want to leave this evil. Even we don't want to see or participate in the Christmas festivals, but in home, everyone we have televisions. If we just switch on, we will see Santa Claus is laughing. We will see candy is flowing. We will see these are inviting. So our children will also see. When we go outside, if our neighbors invited us, we cannot refuse them because that is a simple courtesy. But now how we can balance? So we have to think now. For example, I was thinking that in such an Islamic cultural centers, we have inshallah the new mosque. Have a very big place to invite many people, the Muslims and the non-Muslims. We should introduce different programs, cultural programs. The speech or the talks is for the adults and the youths and the olds. The kids, they don't understand. They want candy. So we have to introduce and nurture and have to plan for them also. So that throughout the weeks or throughout the months or throughout the festivals of all this, we should have a day-long plan for the kids, for different genders, for male, for female, for adults, for both people of the community, for Muslims, for non-Muslims also. What happened, imagine, I was thinking like this, if I have a kid, and we used to be in the cultural center throughout the day, the kids used to play, we used to listen, and then when we come back in home in afternoon, let it be 25th, we all will be tired. The kids will go to bed and we will not be able to switch on the televisions. Maybe that's the way. Another way, the kids need entertainment. So we have to create an Islamic entertainment to nurture them, to brainwash them. We have to teach them these things so that they understand the nature. Because if any other people ask them, why don't you come to us? They will immediately start their tape recorders. This is falsehood, this is false, this is the origin of Christmas, this is the origin of Halloween. So the adults or the community, they cannot blame us because it is the personal choice of the youths. Because we have to make them and train them on that way so that they also understand. We are not teaching them anything that is false. We are bringing them in the true way. For the youths and the adults, we have to sacrifice. The evils are very simple, my dear brothers and sisters. We understand. Being a youth, I understand what is the demand of my psychology, my physical demands. But we have to put a resistance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the word sabr, patience. So we have to see that we make a good company. Company is really important. Which company? Being a parent, we have to see our child, where they are going, with whom they are mixing, what environment we are trying to make for them. Not that we only earn millions or thousands of kronas, but we have to create circumstances. We have to introduce Islamic educational institution. Make an objection. If there is a school where our student goes, we cannot put a ban on the school, don't teach this, because it will be an issue of the country. What we have to do, create our own school, have the own curriculum, simultaneously not contradicting with the law, because we can teach them our cultures. But we need activities throughout the weeks or throughout the months or throughout all these times. We have evils, temptations, so that we ourselves also think about some productivity. Our family and our neighbors and our children also don't miss something. You have to understand, this is a very big concept. And we will love to welcome the young people. Not that only one brother. We can see, I was giving 3-4 lectures about the similar topics in different positions here in the different mosques. Inviting the youths to bring their family and the kids in the Islamic institution, cultural center. We have atmosphere, but we have to take the blame. It's a shame on the parents, those who don't want to come. They have a fear and a sickness in their heart. If our children will mix with the Muslims, they will lose their jobs. They will not upbring with that customs of paganism. And they don't want to lose. We are materialism. We have become materialistic people. But we have to also bring them by bringing salat. We like salat, okay, have salat. Now invite Swedish people, Muslims and non-Muslims. The non-Muslims, especially the Swedish, those who think critically, they have a higher priority to learn. When the Swedish will come, the Muslims will eventually come. Because this have to be, we have to make a strategy, changing the strategy to brainwash or to clean the brain of the people. And this is a big task for the leader of the organizations or the institution we have, maybe very minor or limited in numbers, but we can. And everyone have to participate. The sisters have to participate in to establish their own thinking. We have differentiation in our arguments, but our goal is same. We want to upbring Islam in our real life. That is, we have to understand. If the Jehovah's Witness can, maybe they have big funds, we know that. But we have limited funds, but we have the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to accept it first. And then this society have given us the liberty. I was asking too many sisters from our country, they never went for the Friday prayers in Juma in the mosque. So they find that where we get community. You say, look, come in the Islamic institutions, you have the substitute, alternatives. There are sisters, there are brothers. We mix together. Friday is meant for that. In the Hadith of Bukhari, the Prophet ﷺ, we find the references that the mosque was used as a place of cultural center. Which culture? Pagan? No, Islamic culture. Because the kids, they don't miss anything. The parents, the youngs, the male and the female, they don't miss anything. So we in Islam have pure forms of celebrations and festivals. As I mentioned, Eid, Aqiqah, celebrations of wedding feast, and then birth of a new child, not the anniversary, success, or maybe past examinations, and Fridays especially. We have to establish the gatherings of the Friday. Here, especially we can make it in Saturday and Sunday, like one we have today. Because in Friday especially we go to work. But in Saturday and Sunday, the atmosphere is created by different organizations is really appreciable. But it is now we have to participate. We have to give our thinking, our understanding, our motivations, the concept we have. Within the form, we have to give time, 2 hours in a week, not in a day. But we have to make active, constant actions. And then somehow eventually we will see. Because we want ourselves and our family to upbring in the Islamic atmosphere and the Islamic environment so that we get the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a very strong message for us. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned in the Hadith of Bukhari, the volume 7, Hadith 780, that do opposite what the pagans do. And the Hadith of Sunan Abu Dawud 4020, the Prophet ﷺ makes it that he who follows the customs of the culture of the pagans are one of them. So are we following them, or are we trying to make a wise propositions, a wise substitute, a wise alternative for the Muslims, for us, and for our futures? So with these messages, inshallah, we will try our level best to educate ourselves to make some form of transformations of the thinking and understanding in the society. We understand the temptations going on in the world. This is because of the business of the people running after money. We also tend to fall on them because we didn't introduce the system yet. But we have still a very big task to do, better late than never. So we have a possibility still today to nurture, to create that atmosphere, to make a resistance from the evil, and somehow the others we will find that inshallah, if Allah wills, He will give us victory. So I would like to end the talk by giving you the floor to ask any questions or clarifications, whatever you have, or criticisms, whatever I say, or more explanations or clarifications on any topic. I would like to end the talk by the quotation of the Quran from Surah An-Nahl, chapter 16, verse 125, which says that "Udu ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal ma'izati wal hasanati wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan." That you invite all to the way of Allah with wisdom, with beautiful preaching, reason with them, and argue with them in the way that are best and most gracious. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Dear brothers and sisters, if you have any questions or clarifications, or you want to contribute, because we need contribution now, that's very important. What I realize is from my point of view, because to think is easy, but to make actions and to create an atmosphere is very difficult. That's why I myself put into the positions. I'm ready to engage on this, creating this atmosphere. Whatever the energy or the ability that I have, the resources we have here is too much. So we can utilize the resources we have, but we need collective contributions. Maybe if we have a shortage of money, we can. Shortage of place, we can rent or we can hire. But the first thing is we need the motivations. As a Muslims, we must not be a stumbling block on sitting in a home and just only make a claim that this is haram and this is bad. No, we have to think, are we making any actions to prevent it or not? That is what we have to understand, as in form of individual, form of organizations, and form of as a parents or guardians or as a rational person in the society. And I myself encourage those people who can talk and educate the neighbors, especially those who are non-Muslims, about all this. But we have to talk about the time. Whenever there is an issue, talk on the issue, make some research, have a team, make some research, give a talk, and give explanations and create that atmosphere. Record it, what we achieve in a short run, what we achieve in a long run. The Muslims are backward in doing research, on making planning, a strategical plan we need. And there's a saying in the hadith that a successful people needs a successful planner. So we have to plan ourselves. And we have to ask Allah, because He is the best of planner. He is the one who can give us the best planning. But we have to take the initiative, inshallah. So I encourage my brothers and sisters, everyone, that do little contributions, being the youngs. Motivations and the talents, ideas comes from the young. Because you understand, I, aged of 30, I cannot understand what is the demand, maybe not as a fool of 12. So you have to nurture what your child wants at the age of 12. What I want in my circumstances. You as a people who are age of 40 have to think, sisters have to think what we need, what my child needs. Okay, let us bring the idea together and make a transformation, wise alternative, wise propositions to put a resistance from the evil. So inshallah we find success in this world and in the hereafter. Do you have any questions or clarifications, inshallah? Or if I miss something, or if I say something which is wrong, as a human being I can, but the references are very clear. It's from the encyclopedia, from the dictionary, from the sources that is very solid and very authentic. So nothing of my personal opinion, that what I just do some researches on various scholars, not only from Islam, from Christianity, from different dictionaries especially, and the encyclopedia of religion. Very good information. So I extend to you that always think, and if you have an idea, you have a big forum now in AEF, just propose the idea on the forum, that make a resistance, and then take initiative yourself, because you are the idea generator. So you have to sit on the positions where you can think and you can contribute. So I hope that is easy, not very hard what I say on what we request our brothers and sisters to understand. Being a mother, being a father, we have a high responsibility. Being a brother, being a person in the community, we must make actions. Muslims should not make just to silent. The Prophet says, you must demand for you the same things as you demand for your brother. So we have to create that atmosphere. He was not silent. He was silent when there is nothing to say. But when he was silent, he was thinking. And his idea of 23 years, some people, they tried thousands of years to change generations. But 23 years was enough to create a generations like who survived for 1400 years. So we have to now again regenerate that atmosphere, going back to the sources, religious sources, and find ideas from the Quran and the Hadith. And that's the sources of knowledge. Knowledge comes from the Creator. He gives knowledge to whomever he chooses. So we have to ask Him for the knowledge and ask His help. And thank you, my dear brothers and sisters, for coming here. We welcome you, and we welcome your neighbors and brothers and sisters to tell them to join the Islamic cultural institutions to contribute the community to prosper. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Så har ni inga frågor? Okej, då är ni välkomna nästa vecka. Samma tid, klockan 1. Man kan se på temat på islaminfo.se innan man vill titta på vad det handlar om.
You